Welcome back to programming. In this video we're going to look at having two objects moving on screen, one using bouncing, one using wrapping, and also address a little point where I misspoke in a prior video about drawing ellipses on screen. So the first thing is looking at if we have a rectangle. Now if I were to draw an ellipse here, and if I draw it exactly at 100 and 100, and then I make this 200 wide and 50 tall, when we look at what that does, we'll see it draws this ellipse. Now, I originally thought that unlike rectangles which draw from the corner, and what we'll also do is let's just cut down on the movement here and watch it again so we can see. So ellipses are drawing, at this case, at 100, so it's drawing from the center. I thought ellipses drew from the corner, circles drew from the center, but we can update that using what is called ellipse mode. So we have a couple of different ways. So by default, ellipses are drawing at center. I thought ellipses, like rectangles, drew from corner, but circles draw from their center. So we have modes that we can set for that. So we can have a center mode, and then we can have a radius mode, corner mode, and draw from corners where we specify the top left and the bottom right corner. The two most common ones we'll use will be center or corner. So if I want to look at this from corner here and go ellipse mode, corner, like that. Now when we run it, we will see that the ellipse is drawing from its corner. And it just is a way of aligning it. So we can draw from the middle or draw from the corner. If we're using ellipses and bouncing, our current algorithms that we've used for wrapping and bouncing are assuming a corner mode drawing configuration, not a center mode. Because if we use the center mode and animated this ellipse, we would see that it goes halfway off screen. So if we just comment this line out here, take this and change this ellipse to x comma y comma width comma height, and let's lower vx down to a more manageable amount like 2. Now if we need to reactivate their movement here and draw, so we can see how at the top and at the left we'll see that the circle goes halfway off screen because its center point is aligned with that corner of the rectangle. But if we were to have ellipse mode back on and run this, we would see how now that ellipse is in alignment. So that's just one minor correction that we want to make. Now what we really want to do is to see about having two objects. And well, I now have two objects on here that I can work with. I am going to just delete those for now. We'll put something else back in a moment. But to do two objects, what we need to do is have a second set of properties. So these properties are now for our second object. And now we can just put in some values here. I'll make this one go a little bit faster. And we'll start this at 300, not 3000, and 200, So we have our first object and our second object. I just added a bunch of 2's to it. And just like here, what we can do, copy that. Let's space in there. Let's go we'll choose a new color with it. Color selector is quite handy. We paste in our new color. Now we'll leave the stroke the same for now. If we wanted to do 2 rectangles, we can just change those to 2's. We can also change it, just change the word rect to ellipse, and that will take care of that. Now this method, where we're hard coding this in for it, for a couple objects, yeah, we could make that work. If we had 10 objects, this would suck. 100 objects, it would really suck. 1,000 objects, this would be impossible to master, and we don't want to work that way. So now I'm going to make the first object edge bounce. The second object is going to asteroid wrap, so then we will just change these appropriately. If we run our sketch, we can see how the teal box is asteroid wrapping and the other object is now indeed bouncing. So our original object is still bouncing because that's what we had before. We brought back the asteroid wrap. So now we have 2 objects set up pretty easy. If we wanted to switch this to an ellipse, and because our method is looking for corners, and notice how corner is all capital because we are using what is called a constant. So we have certain values or terms that we can work with in the program that have been defined. They don't change, such as center, constant, etc. And now if we run it, we have the circle working perfectly and our box working perfectly. So that's the solution to being able to work with multiple objects. What we're going to look at next is going to be how we can do it with more than 2 objects. One other thing to think about is we can see how my indent is. I've tried to maintain my indents and make things look good, but at times like here when I pasted it, gave me that extra indent. It's not a bad idea to use Command or Control T to auto format your code. It cleans it up. If your code is properly spaced and organized, it makes it easier to read, easier to troubleshoot, and will give you just a much more positive experience in your coding journey. So good luck and have fun.